Welcome to the Venus Flytrap Podcast. My name is Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards. I'm your host, and we're here to talk about all kinds of things. You know, when I went through the experience that I wrote about in the Venus Flytrap, Sex, Lies, and Repercussions, it seemed like our story, our mission was to talk about the book and toxic relationships and get people to buy a book, which it is. But really, it's not about toxic relationships. It's about something far greater, because the Venus flytrap actually is a metaphor for life, for society, for all kinds of relationships, every kind of relationship you can think of, including the relationship you have with the world, with society. And this world can be the Venus flytrap. It can trap you in a set of beliefs, a set of ideas that can cause you to live a life in way of slavery, right? In terms of, going to work, getting a paycheck, not living life on your terms, feeling like you're in a trap, and you're trapped by the nectar that this world that you live in offers you. What kind of nectar? Well, having a car, having things, the stuff, the material world that you want. Why? Because everybody else wants it and you want to be accepted by everybody else, so you got to have it. Which is not true. All right. So how do we extrapolate ourselves from that Venus flytrap? And also, how do we not get into toxic, or what I call Venus flytrap relationships in our personal life with our boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, the dog, whatever it is, right? The relationships can become toxic. In marriages, it starts out, everything is wonderful, or with your girlfriend or whatever. Everything is perfect. They're perfect. You're perfect for them. And then something happens and things start to change. In marriages, it can take years and years and years for you to grow apart until there's nothing left for you to be in the relationship for. That's also toxic, right? So I went through a toxic relationship in the story of the book, which is a true story, right? It's like a memoir, or based on a true story, right? Which is the way you have to say it from legal perspectives, right? But I almost lost my mind in that. I mean, really, I almost went out of my mind, which is a place some people say I should go. But my point is, I got out of it and I didn't survive. I thrived, right? Now, I did survive initially. I got out of it. I extrapolated myself. I went through tremendous pain in the relationship and getting out of it. And then healing those wounds, which took a while, and getting my life back on track where I was doing what I wanted to do and living the life that I wanted. And then from there, learning how to thrive in a new world. And it was a new world because I'd shed a skin. I'd shed a part of myself that I needed to let go of. And so the toxic relationship, or the Venus flytrap relationship, was not a bad thing. It was a gift. And I'm totally grateful for it, as we'll talk about later. So there were specific things that I did to get out of the relationship. Specific details. And I'm going to share those with you. So if you need to get out of a toxic relationship, or a Venus flytrap relationship, as we're now going to call it, I can share with you how, right? Specific things you can do to extrapolate yourself from it. I'm also going to share things that you need to know to not ever get back in one again. How good would that be? Because what happens to many people is they get in a relationship, a toxic relationship, a relationship that doesn't serve them, that becomes abusive, and they don't know how to get out, right? And then there are people who get out of one and then just go back into one again, another one. They meet the same person in a different body because they haven't taken responsibility, learned the lessons they needed to learn, and so they're drawn electromagnetically, because everything's vibration. Remember we were talking about last time? And we're just drawn back into it. You cannot help it. It doesn't matter what you do. If you don't change your vibration, you're going to go back into one again, or just never go back in a relationship again, which neither one makes sense, right? And if you've never been in a toxic relationship, you need to get out a lot more often. Most people have been in one, but if you haven't, good for you. And let's just make sure you never get into one, right? So we got a lot to go through, a lot of perspectives, a lot of learning, a lot of growing, a lot of having fun, right? So everything is a relationship. So that's why the Venus flytrap is so powerful, and learning how to avoid them, get out of them, and never get back into one again is really important. So let's get started.
vampire to mask the pain, a self-made man with a heart and heart, watching the world from a place apart. Then she walked in like a sudden blade in the midnight heat where the shadows played. A fallen heiress with a rebel soul, ready to take back all control. She lived by no rules but her own desire, wrapping his life in a ring of fire. An international ghost of a golden age, stepping back onto the center stage. Oh, the Venus flytrap.
Okay, so let's do what I just said. Let's get right into it. So the philosophy is called the Heartist philosophy. Okay, and what is the Heartist philosophy, and what's the purpose of it? Well, the purpose is the evolution of consciousness. Whoa, I know, that's a lot more than toxic relationships, Stephen. Yes, it is. It's a lot more interesting, it's a lot more exciting, and it's something that I believe you'll want to become part of. And it's not around a person, right? So why did I choose a philosophy rather than followers? I don't want followers. That's a lot of weight to carry, right? People following you around all day. No, that's not what I mean. I mean followers who are going to follow you, that it's about a personality. Now, what happens if people look up to someone, put them on a pedestal, right? It really hurts the neck, right? Seen that? Yeah, no. So what it does is it separates that person. Yeah, that's not good. It has expectations. Now you expect that person is going to give you certainty, is going to give you confidence, is going to give you whatever you need. No one can do that, right? So what very happens when a philosophy or ideas are surrounding a person, that person's human. Yeah, even me. I know, hard to believe, but there you go. So they're going to make mistakes. And when they do, or at least mistakes in your eyes, and when they do, it's like the bubble bursts. And now you're looking for everything that is wrong with that person. I've already told you there's a lot wrong with me, so forget it. What I want you to do is make your life about a philosophy that you can allow to guide you through your life. A philosophy will last long beyond my ears. What? Yeah, you heard right. Long beyond my ears. I meant to say long after my years, right? It becomes generational. So for many years, I believed that my purpose in life was the evolution of consciousness. I still do, right? But what changed was not my purpose. What changed is my understanding of how that purpose is best served. So I spent years around amazing teachers. You heard me talk about Tony Robbins, Neil Donald Walsh, James Redfield, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Dan Millman, Robert Kiyosaki. The list goes on and on and on, right? Now, I didn't actually study directly with all of them, but many of them I did. But they were my mentors through books that I read, right? And teachings that they offered, right? And I remained grateful for all that I learned. And I learned, obviously, because you know I'm super smart, right? I learned a tremendous amount from them that is still part of me today. But what I also witnessed was something that left an impression, a lasting impression on me, right? Like I just said, when people build another human being into the center of their world, they eventually ask that the person carry a weight no human can carry. They expect, like I said, certainty. They expect perfection. They expect someone else to hold them together. And I said, no one can do that. Sooner or later, the teacher disappoints the image that others have created. Admiration can become resentment because the expectations were just never possible to fulfill. I realized I didn't want to have or build followers. That responsibility felt too heavy. Not because I lacked compassion, but because I believe that every person must ultimately become responsible for their own life. So the realization became one of the foundational principles of the Heartist philosophy. The Heartist philosophy. Got it? Yeah, no. Okay, let me explain it. As we're going to go through all this, what we're going to be talking about is how everything, that means everything, is vibrational. This whole universe is vibrational. And what's the point of that? Well, the point is, you know what MRI is, right? Magnetic resonance imaging. It's looking at everything from a vibrational perspective, a magnetic electrical perspective, which is vibration. And your heart has a vibration. Your lungs have a vibration. Your liver has a vibration, right? And so we have an overall vibration. And so it all begins in the heart. Well, actually, it all begins in the earth, right? Which is the same thing, as you'll see. Our heart is hidden in the earth. Anyway, the earth vibrates. It sends a signal out, a vibration. Nuh-uh, What? Yes, but I don't feel it. I know. There's a reason, right? So this vibration comes out of the earth, and what it does, it sends out this frequency, this vibration, which is about 7.8 hertz or beats per second. And what happens is our heart synchronizes with that vibration. Stephen, you're crazy. I know, but it's true. Actually, both things are true. I am crazy, and it really does happen. So this vibration comes out of the earth and into our heart. The first point of cognition, therefore, is where? The mind, right? No, I just told you, it's the heart. Wow, I know. So this vibration, this frequency comes into our heart. And where does it go? You're not going to believe this. It goes into the brain. Wow, makes sense, right? This frequency, vibration, goes into our brain. Yeah, and then where does it go? It goes into our body. Every part of our body. And it's sending information. What's it trying to say? It's trying to tell us what we need to hear or understand. It's our guiding light. It's the guiding frequency of the divine. That's why sometimes you say to yourself, should I do this? And your intuition goes, no, don't do it. But you did it anyway. You did not. Yes, you did. Why? Because your mind shouts lighter, which is English for louder, shouts louder than the whisper of your heart. And so your mind overrides the guidance of your heart. And so we've got to calm that damn mind down, right? And listen to what? To our heart. Let our heart guide us, right? So back to the frequency coming into our body, synchronizing with our heart, right? Going up into our brain then sending a signal down into our body. Then what happens? It goes back in the opposite direction. The frequency goes back into our mind, our brain. Our brain then sends the signal back to our heart, and our heart back into the earth. That is the circle or the circuit of life. What breaks the circuit? Why isn't this working? Because you got a bunch of fear. You got a bunch of negative energy inside your body, the judgments, the jealousy, the anger, the resentment. That is all, guess what? Yeah, you got it. Evidence. No, it's not evidence. It's a frequency, right? So fear has a frequency. Get out of town. Okay, I will, but first I'm going to tell you what it means. So this energy, this fear is caught up in the cells of your body, and it's pulling you down because what kind of a vibration is it? It's a pull down. It's a lower vibration, a low frequency, which is like dead weight. It pulls you down. It pulls your vibration down. So as you want to start experiencing higher levels of consciousness, like happiness, joy, love, having that low vibration energy makes it really, really hard. Yeah, it makes sense now, doesn't it? Because you've been having a bit of a tough time, haven't you? Yes, you have, right? So a heartist is working on living from the heart. What's the ist? It's an art. You have a heart and you're an artist. You have a creative spirit, a creative energy. So when you combine the heart to your creative energy, you become a heartist. Nuh-uh. Yeah. So the other thing is then, what we need to do is practice. You know, like a doctor practices medicine. Yeah? So there are things that we practice. You own your own practice. And your practice is to practice the philosophy of Heartism so you can become a Heartist. I know. Genius, right? So you come to the realization. Real eyes Asian. You realize. You see with your real eyes. You see, these eyes, well, not just these eyes, but everybody's eyes, will fool them, deceive them. They will make you think that you're seeing something that you're not, or seeing something that you really want to see that is really not there. Now, I know not you, right? But there are people out there, right? So you realize that one of the foundations is the Heartist philosophy. The Heartist is not about following me, because I get paranoid anyway, and you following and a bunch of other people is going to get really, really annoying, right? So it's not about adopting my beliefs. You know, it could be a good thing in some cases, but anyway, whatever. So not following my beliefs. It's not about surrendering your own intuition. It's about awakening to your own consciousness, to your own conscience, finding your own coherence, finding or becoming your authentic self. Because it's all about, in the end, you want to know the secret of life? Me too. If you find out, give me a call. All right? So the secret to life, what we're really all trying to do is remember who we really are. The problem is all those fears, all that judgment, all those thoughts about, well, what if people don't like me as who I really am? They don't know who I really am. They don't know all the crazy shit and stuff I've done in my life. If they did, they probably wouldn't like me. They wouldn't be around anymore because it doesn't fit in to what society says is a good person. So the first thing you have to get over is you're not a good person in the eyes of other people necessarily, right? And if you try to be a good person in the eyes of everybody else, guess what? That's going to be a little stressful, isn't it? Because everybody's got a different idea of what a good person is. And the chance of you fitting all those different perceptions of what a good person is approximately, it's not going to happen. So you might as well just be who you are rather than trying to be somebody else, because that job's already taken. Yes, I know you've heard this before, right? So you're going to find your own coherence. What is coherence? It's the vibration that connects you to yourself and everything and everyone around you. It's about living your own truth. And then sometimes people say, listen, dude, there's only one truth. No, there isn't. You have a truth that's true for you. Other people have a truth that's true for them. So how many truths do we have so far? We have 2. Now, how many people are on Earth? More than 3, right? There's a lot of people here, and they've all got their own version of the truth. Now, you might say, but there is only one truth. Well, you'd be wrong. So this philosophy succeeds when people not become more dependent on me, whatever that means, what I just said. You understand. Don't be difficult. All right? People will not become more dependent on me if this philosophy succeeds, which is a huge weight off my shoulders and something I've been worried about for a long time. They'll become more deeply connected to themselves. And wouldn't you rather be more deeply connected to yourself than be me? The answer is yes, you would. Trust me, you don't want to be me, right? I want to be me, but it wouldn't be good for you. So this is the kind of legacy that I hope to leave. Not followers, free human beings. And then I can be free to hang out with myself. And I like hanging out with myself. I'm a pretty cool person when I'm on my own. Right? The philosophy, therefore, is greater than the philosopher. And that is exactly how it should be. A true philosophy should make its founder progressively less necessary. What? So now I'm talking myself out of a job? Yes. Okay. In other words, the Heartist philosophy is healthy. If it's healthy, people won't need to think. I mean, I won't need to won't need me to think for them. Actually, I need you to think for me right now because I keep tripping over my words, don't I? Okay. Well, I got notes. Okay. All right. Can't remember everything. All right. All right. So I'm really my mission is to be a bridge from fear to courage. And we're going to talk about fear and courage. And each of those emotions, guess what? All right, now you're really getting ahead of me, and I don't like it. Yes, it has a vibration. Fear has a vibration. Courage has a vibration. How do we know? Because someone told me. No, because we can measure it. How? Through You've ever met Dr. David Hawkins? Me either, but he founded this map of consciousness. And we're going to get into the map of consciousness. Consciousness and consciousness. Two things, it's a twofer. All right? Consciousness, a map of consciousness. I said it again, right? Explaining through the practice of kinesthesiology, some people call it muscle testing, how they can compare the vibration of that against other things. So we know what the vibration is of fear, of courage, of all these different emotions. And so we can move up the map of consciousness, and the highest, so 200 is courage, right? So we get to courage. Now we're moving from the negative side to the positive side, the negative frequencies to the positive frequencies, all the way up to 1,000, which is the vibration of enlightenment. How cool is that? Stephen, no one is ever going to get to enlightenment. Come on now. Yes, they are. How do you know? Because I've been there. Well, why did you come back then? I didn't have a choice, right? Frequency comes in waves. Not that kind of wave. You know the kind of wave I'm talking about, right? It's a wave of frequency, right? So have you ever got up one morning and felt really awesome? Just, this is a great day. And then other days you've woken up and going, oh man, I feel terrible. This sucks, right? Yeah, it's because you're an idiot. No, it isn't because you're an idiot. It's because the wave, the frequency changes and you got to ride the wave. You need all the emotions. Stephen, trust me, I don't need to feel like life is hell ever. Well, yes, you do. Because if you didn't know up, how could you know down? If you didn't know right, how could you know left? If you didn't know hot, how could you know cold? Life is contrast. So we go through all these different emotions. We go through these different experiences. But that's what gives life its richness, right? So, Stephen, are you telling me there's going to be pain? Mm-hmm. I don't like pain. Well, good. How do you know? Because I've had it. Good. So how do you know if you have happiness? Because I've had it. Well, you couldn't know you've been happy if you hadn't been sad. Now, could you? Okay. So to the extent you experience one, so you can experience another. So when you go through that pain, it varies, doesn't it? Some things are more painful than others, just like in the physical body, you know? Someone kicks you in the nuts, it's really painful, right? If someone hits you with a, pricks you with a pin, not quite as painful. Still don't want it to happen, but not the same, right? There is a contrast there, right? So, but those struggles, those difficult times do not define you. They refine you. You might say, this is the worst day of my life. Probably said that more than once, haven't you? Like me, right? Many, many times. But when you look back on that experience, you might say, yeah, I never want to go through that again. But I'm kind of glad I did, because I learned more about myself in those tough times, in those dark times. Maybe when you went through the darkest of them all, what we call the dark night of the soul, which happened to me, right? In that toxic relationship and before. What does that tell you? I'm a slow learner. Yeah, I'm a slow learner. I've got to admit, I'm a slow learner. I've been through a lot of crap in my life, which I didn't have to go through. But At some level, I chose to. And going through those difficult times has refined me. So think of it this way. There's a beautiful book. It's a book of poems by a gentleman called Kahlil Gibran. And he writes in his book that it is not the flute that plays the most beautiful music. Was it not carved out of knives? The cup from which you drink, was it not burned in a potter's oven? And yet they're so beautiful. And so are you. And so don't think of those difficult times as having happened to you. Perhaps they happen for you. Okay. Hold on a second there, Stephen, because I don't know how that could have happened for me. And I didn't like what they did to me. Well, I'm not saying they didn't do that to you. I'm not saying they didn't do it. But they didn't do it to you. They might not know this consciously, but at some level you attracted that person into your life to do what they did for you so you could wake up, that you could start to see yourself in that situation, that they were a mirror for you, to recognize where you'd given yourself away. Maybe you'd become too much of a giver and you weren't allowing yourself to receive, that you were constantly trying to help everybody without helping yourself. That you're letting yourself be abused because you thought it was the kind thing to do. And it wasn't. You can't be really kind for other people until you can be kind for yourself. Because all you're doing is giving yourself away and depleting yourself until there's nothing left to give. And then guess what? You become a very, very annoying, not nice person. How do you know that, Stephen? How do you know that about me? Because it's just, I've been watching you. Okay, I'm a private detective in my spare time. I've been following you around, and it doesn't look good. All right, it's how things work out. Everything is in a balance in the universe, or it isn't. And we all get out of balance at some point, but you don't want to stay there, right? And some people do. They keep repeating, which is an English word for repeating. Repeating what? The same pattern. There's language patterns, there's thought patterns, there's behavioral patterns. And what happens with these patterns, which we create usually in our childhood, these patterns are created and reinforced and embedded into our consciousness, usually between the age of 1 and 7. There's a very famous priest. I think he was a priest. Anyway, he was a religious man. He said, "Give me your son until he's 7 years of age, and I will show you the man." Now, obviously, that doesn't apply to women. I'm kidding, right? But that was back in the times when they talked about men, boys, but not so much the girls and the women. It's the same thing, right? We're forged, refined, and messed up in those first 7 years. But the patterns that we create, the thought patterns, the language patterns, the behavioral patterns, stay with us. We collect beliefs that are not true. How do you know? My beliefs are not true. Now, some of your beliefs might be complete nonsense, but not mine. Mine are all true. Yes, I know, but listen anyway. So we create these beliefs that are usually thrust upon us by our caretakers, whoever those people are. Then we go to school. Then we get in society. And there's all these beliefs coming at us all the time, many of which we just assume are true. And unfortunately, they're not. So they become, now hang on a second, some beliefs are in our best interest. Some beliefs do take us in the direction we want to go. However, there are also beliefs that pull us down, hold us back, and take us in the wrong direction. Wait a second, Stephen. I thought there was no right or wrong. No, there isn't. But there are things that can take you in the wrong direction in relationship to where you want to go. Like if you get on the wrong bus, if you're going to Los Angeles and the bus is going to Salt Lake City, it's going in the wrong direction in relationship to where you want to go, right? So that's the question. We have to question our beliefs. We have to question everything. We have to become a little bit of an interrogator. Yeah? What are you doing here? Why do I believe you? Right? or something like that. So we question what we believe. And we have to, when you start to question things, if they're fear-based, the fear will disappear and you'll realize, I can't even believe I thought that. Wow. So we start to question what we believe, and that becomes a window or a door, depending on what kind of house you live in, to awareness. You start to become more aware of your thoughts. You start to become more aware of your words, the things you say, and how they have power over your experience, or what you might call your reality. And then again, people go, Stephen, there's only one reality, and that's this one that we see here. No, it isn't, right? We all have our own reality within the confines of a greater reality. Stephen, you're starting to lose me. It's okay, because I was lost for a long time. But now I'm found. Anyway. Hi, listen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're here to make a public service announcement. If you're enjoying this conversation, which I know you are, right? Because if you say no, you probably lie about other things too, right? So if you're enjoying this, which I really do hope that you are, please take a moment to follow or hit the subscribe button and the like button so you never miss an episode. Let's get back to the conversation. Yes, we live in a larger reality that has some agreements. Like, you step your foot on the floor, you're going to hit the ground. Unless you're in a rickety wooden house on the second floor and it's all ready to break. But you get my point, right? These are agreements that we've made as a consciousness. And then there are beliefs that determine your experience of that reality, which means you create your own reality within a reality. You can write that down, but don't say it too often because it can become an endless loop and that will drive you crazy. So we have these beliefs that are the doorway to our reality. And if your reality, what you're experiencing, makes you unhappy, then the best thing to do is look the other way, right? Because then it'll just go away and you can't see it anymore and everything will be fine, right? Yeah, no. That's like getting cancer in your leg and just saying, you know what, I'm not going to pay attention to my leg and let's hope the cancer goes away. Not a good idea. We have to address the cancer, right? We have to address the patterns that are creating what we're experiencing in our life. So nobody did something to you. They did something for you. Now, I know. Don't get ahead of me. There are some things that can happen in your life that trauma is not a strong enough word to describe. I know. I get it. And taking on the idea that it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. I know. I get it. That's a big leap, right? A huge leap. And I'm not expecting you to believe that now or even in the future. But here's what I'll tell you. Or should I say, share with you, right? If you believe that it happened to you, now you have a wound. Yeah, I know. Another one, right? That you carry with you wherever you go. And it's painful. And if anybody touches that wound or reminds you of that wound, there's extreme pain. And it's a choice. It's not right or wrong, it's a choice. However, if you decide to take on the belief that it didn't happen to you, it happened for you, and you're committed to finding the reason it happened for you, and by the way, that isn't going to happen in the immediacy of what occurred. That's not realistic. We're human beings. You might feel upset. You can feel angry, frustrated, all those things. But Stephen, you just said that's being a victim. I know. But it's okay to be a victim for a little bit. You just don't want to stay there, right? So when you've got over your victimness at some point, hopefully relatively sooner than later, then you begin to look for the silver lining. How is it possible? And sometimes I sit there and go, so This happened for me, huh? Okay. Let me hear it. How has this happened for me? This is going to be good. Because I have a habit of talking to myself. And so do you. You just said to yourself, do I talk to myself? See, you do. But then I focus on finding the silver lining. How has this happened for me? Now, I'm also going to tell you that's not going to happen again in the next few minutes. It might take hours. It might take weeks. It can even take months. And guess what? Yes, it can even take years or decades. But it's there. And it might not meant to be in a few hours, a few days, or a few weeks. But it planted an experience there that later in your life, you will come to understand the reason it happened for you. You've got to keep the faith that that belief is true. Not easy. But listen, I never said it was easy. I just said it was going to be worth it, right? So it'll be worth it. And I'm going to give you experiences as we go down the road of how that happened for me. Not in the immediacy of what happened. Like, Stephen, I can't wait for later. I think you need to explain it now. Okay. Now I'm going to pick an easy one, right? I know there are a lot of you are going to say, Stephen, that's nothing to what I experienced, what this person did to me, how they took away my soul, how they destroyed me, and now I'm a broken person. Man, that's intense, right? So first thing I want to ask you to do is go ahead and show me exactly where you're broken. Maybe take pictures and email them to me so I can see all the broken parts of you. Yeah? I don't mean that kind of broken. No, you don't, because you're not broken. Have you been hurt? Have your feelings been hurt? Yes. But the rest is make-believe. Listen, you weren't there. You did not see what happened. You didn't see what he did or she did to me. No, I wasn't. And I don't need to be. I don't need to be. Was it painful? Of course. Is anything going to take that away? No. But you don't have to carry it with you for the rest of your life. That's the difference. You see, if you remain angry, if you remain a victim, that it happened to you, you will carry that for the rest of your life. When you can say, this happened for me, I just got to figure out how. And stay committed until you get it. So I'll give you a little example here. This is kind of a funny experience in a way. Now, not then, right? When Tamaz and I, the focus of the book is her, right? And she's amazing. And I loved her and I love her still. I never want to go through that again, and I'll never be with her again. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I loved having that experience in the end, not necessarily when I went through it, but I'm eternally grateful to her because I believe as a spirit, as a soul, we're all fully enlightened. There's nothing for us to learn, right? However, to have a human experience, we have to forget all that, right? Because if we remembered, we couldn't have the experience. So we come back into this life to have experiences that lead us back to remembering and being who we really are. Stephen, that seems really stupid. Okay, but that's the deal. So anyway, what happens is we, in the spiritual realm, once we leave our bodies, all hang out drinking cups of tea. No, we don't. But at some point, if you're around anything long enough, what happens? You tend to take it a little bit for granted, right? So let's just say we come from bliss, the experience of being in bliss. We come to earth to learn some new lessons, to have some new experiences, because if you're around bliss too much, guess what? You take it for granted. So you have to have a what? A contrasting experience to come back round the circle of life, back to bliss. And then it's as though you're experiencing bliss again for the very first time. I know, big deal. Now, in order to help us on that journey, we have certain souls that come into our life to help us awaken, to give us the experience we need to get to the next level of the journey home, right? And so my belief is that at certain points in our lives that are the perfect time and the perfect way, no coincidences, everything happens for a reason, blah, 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 they come into your life to teach you those lessons that you have chosen to learn on your way home. So my belief is, and I could be wrong about all this, right? All I know is these principles that I'm sharing with you right now have had a profound impact on the quality of my experiences and the quality of my life. You got to ask yourself, do my beliefs take me in the direction I want to go, or do they take me away from it? Do they take me in what is the right direction for me or the wrong direction for me? Okay. So I believe she chose to come into my life as a master teacher, as she has done for others, never to awaken in this life. That's a huge sacrifice for her to choose to make. So I'm eternally grateful for her for doing that for me, that she loved me enough as a spiritual being to come into my life and do something that she had to lower her vibration so low to do something to me that would cause me to wake up, do something for me to help me wake up. So we're going through this experience, this relationship together, right? She is awakening me, right? So, of course, I didn't know this at the time. I was like in it, like all of us are in this illusion of reality that isn't reality. It's an illusion. It's like we're all living in a movie. You need to start writing your own movie, right? You think, this isn't my movie. I won't write it this way. But whatever, right? You're in a movie and you're creating it. You are the director, the editor. You are the camera person. You're doing all this stuff, right? You might say, well, I need to get better. Right? Maybe. But the point is, you're creating it. So, but while we're going through it, we don't recognize that because it looks so real, right? And we get emotions and we get feelings and we get angry and all this stuff. Yeah, it's great. So now you're experiencing other emotions. Anyway, the point is we were broken up. Again, we were broken up so many times, but we got addicted to that too. Why? Because, you have an argument, you break up, and then what do? You get back together. And how does that feel? Feels amazing. Contrast. Sometimes we have to lose something to get it back to realize how crazy it was in the first place. But anyway, so we're broken up. And we were living together most of the time. She had her own place. I had my own place. But I'm living in a mansion with a freaking huge sex room. She's a sex addict and 6 foot in her bare feet, pretty much. 6'5" in her 5-inch heels. And I'm a sex addict for her, right? She became my magnificent obsession. She was like heroin to me. I've never taken heroin, but I don't believe it's nearly as good as she was. But my point is, we were broken up. And she would act out, right? So she would, steal my car, go somewhere, binge, go have a sexual adventures with other people, and eventually come home. Maybe. So far, so good. But anyway, she's gone, right? And I had to leave to go on a speaking engagement. So I go, lock up the house, and I put the alarm on, which for some reason I never put the alarm on, but I did this time, of course. So she comes back to the house when she knew I'd gone, and she breaks in, right? She couldn't get in. I locked all the windows and everything that she usually broke in through. So she breaks into the house, and what happens? It sets the alarm off, right? So recently, there'd been some issues in the neighborhood. The police had been called, and they took forever to get there. And the community director called the chief of police and said, look, that's not good enough. We pay all this money in taxes. You should get out here quicker. So obviously he didn't like getting reamed out, right? So he was kind of annoyed. So now we have this damsel in distress, right? She smashes her way into the house, sets off the alarm. And so the chief goes, well, now let me show you how hot and heavy we can come out, right? Oh no, right? So he sends out 6 squad cars, 2 SUVs, 4 police dogs, for a freaking alarm, right? So they come to the house. The cars are parked in the driveway, in the street. The lights are flashing, lit up the neighborhood, right? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. The dogs are barking and running through people's gardens. And she's sitting in the convertible there like a damsel in distress, and all these sheriffs are coming around, right? Because she got them wrapped around her finger, right? So then one of them calls me. One of the officers calls me. And he already knew me, right? Because he'd been there a bunch of times for a variety of reasons that we get into in the book. So then he goes, well, she's here. I go, okay. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, look, we're arguing, right? And she's very, very... there's going to be payback, right? No question. And so I said to him, listen, under no circumstances let her in that house, because I knew there'd be damage, right? So he goes, well, let me call you back. So he calls me back and says, listen, we got to let her in. The police chief says you got to let her in. I mean, she's here all the time. We know she stays here all the time. So we got to let her in. I'm like, oh, no. So now, for 3 days, I'm thinking about what's gonna happen to my house and what it's going to look like when I get back. So I get back, walk into the house. Of course, she's nowhere to be seen, but everything looks fine. Everything was where it was. Everything looks fine. I'm like, no way. So I go in the kitchen. I put the kettle on, right? So I'm going to have a cup of tea because I'm English. What can I say? So I leave the kitchen. I come back, and the kettle is not boiling. So I go over to the kettle, and I flick the switch, and it doesn't come on. So I look behind the kettle, and she snipped the wire to the cable. Snip the wire to the cable, which is common these days. She snipped the wire to the kettle. Nuh-uh. Uh-huh. But what are you thinking now? That's obviously not the only thing, is it? So now I'm going around the house. She snipped the electrical cord to every electrical product in the house. TVs, everything, fridge, whatever. And then I go, yeah, and I know that's not it. So one of the things that happens in my childhood that I talked about in the book is that my mother, to save money, sent me to school in school clothes that were going to last me my entire educational life, and probably some of them well into my adulthood. My overcoat would still fit me today. It was a Parker. Remember the Parker overcoats, right? I had to roll the sleeves up to see my hands. The coat actually dragged on the floor. I had a hood in front of my face, with the fur around it. I looked like the Grim Reaper, right? Now, think about other kids. Are they kind? Did they come over and say, oh, Stephen, don't worry about it. You look fine. No. What do? They humiliated me, right? Even the teachers were no better. Edwards, come here. What are you doing? What are you wearing? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, sir. So I was in pain because of these stupid clothes that made me look stupid, and the kids told me I was stupid. I had to get out of the pain. So I had to learn how to make money. So I became a drug dealer. And that's really when, I'm just kidding. So what I did is I had to find a way to make some money so I could buy my own school clothes. So clothes became very important to me. I always had to have the latest designs, the latest clothes, because I didn't want to be laughed at anymore, right? So now I'm in my house. She snipped all the electrical cords to every electrical product in the house, and I'm thinking that's not going to be the end of it. Now, she knew, obviously, that I was a, what do you call it? I don't know if you call it a clothing junkie, whatever. I had a massive wardrobe of beautiful clothes. So I'm thinking, oh, no, please, no, right? So I go to the closet. Guess what? Everything looks fine. Then I walk in the closet, and I pull the clothes back. And she's cut them all to shreds, right? In some cases, just, the lapel or the pocket or both or whatever. They're all destroyed. Now, here's my point. Yes, there is a point. My point is, I didn't then say, oh, well, never mind, because I know that happened for me. That's not what happened. I was so mad. I was so angry. And I said, I never wanted to hurt her, but I did want to kill her, right? So I went on this rant, right? For I don't know how long, but it wasn't a few minutes, let me put it that way. But finally, well into the next day, I slumped down in my armchair, looking out over the lake. And I said, all right, So, this happened for me? Okay, tell me how this happened for me. This is going to be good. Who was I talking to? Yes, myself. So I sat there and I was thinking about how on earth could this be happening or happen for me? And like I said, you don't get it right away. It could come in stages, right? But if you're committed to the idea, the belief, you're going to find some things. And usually the first thing you think of is not the actual thing, right? So the first thing I thought of was, well, it's only clothes. You know, you can replace clothes. But then my mind jumped in and went, that's just bullshit. Those are really nice clothes, right? But back to square one. But finally, eventually, by being committed to the belief, I got it. The light bulb went on. Attachment. I was attached to those clothes. What does that mean? What does attachment mean? Now you're attached to them because you now believe that they are a part of you, that they're part of your identity. And that's no good. And so by coming to that realization, I was able to detach myself. There's nothing wrong with having nice clothes. It's when you're attached to them. What is that phrase from the Bible? It is more difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to slip through the eye of the needle. Because he believes his richness, his wealth, his belongings are part of who he is. And that gives him an identity. And it's not true. You see, the camel cannot detach itself from its humps. They're a part of the camel. And if a rich man believes that his things, his stuff, make him who he is, and that without them he will be diminished, he's attached to them. And so we have to let go of that which we are attached to. So that was a huge realization for me, because I'd always been of the mind that I'm not attached to anything, that I can let anything go. So I had to let that go, right? Now that was just the beginning of that journey. But here's the point. Had I not been committed to that belief, I would still be angry at Tamaz to this day, thinking that she had done it to me, not for me. And so there are many, many other experiences. And that's a lightweight one, I know, in comparison to things that may have occurred in your life that you think happened to you, right? But maybe, just maybe, it's opened your mind up just a little bit, just a crack, to say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of feeling like a victim. I'm sick and tired of this person who no longer is in my life having power over me. It's time for me to step in my own power, to not be a victim. And if you take on that belief, you truly take it on, you can never be a victim again. At least not for long, right? And the time between me being a victim, and I am sometimes, of course I am, I'm human, right? But the time between me being a victim and coming to the realization, what does that mean? Same with my realize. What am I realize? My feelings. These eyes will deceive you. Your intuition won't. Now, there's different kinds of feelings, right? There's feelings of fear. There's all kinds of different things, and we'll get into that later. But the point is this. You are the master or mistress of your own life. You're making choices all the time. And this philosophy, the philosophy of Heartism, if you can open yourself up to it, not me, I don't want to be your guru, right? There's too much weight for me to carry, and I don't want it, right? If I can show you how to be in control of your life, then you will need anything I have to say less and less until never. And then you'll be free. And so will I, right? So I hope that in some way goes to help you understand where this philosophy is coming from. We got a long way to go. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more facets to it. We're going to talk about the map of consciousness, how all these feelings that we want to experience have a vibration. and how we can let go of the lower vibration emotions that we've stored in our body from the events of our lives, that we've held on to them because we've been too ashamed, maybe, too controlling, too afraid of what society will think if they know that these things have occurred. Whatever it is, we've got to lease that. We've got to not lease it, release it. You've got it leased in your body. Now we're going to release it somewhere else. And if you stay open to those possibilities, then your journey home has begun. So, one last thing for today, and I picked this up this morning. I didn't even know I'd written this, so I thought, well, maybe I should read this today. And most of you know that I've listened to the podcast before, and if you haven't, go back and listen to them. I write soul tree, which is poetry written from the soul. The only purpose of it is to remind us of who we really are. Now, I wrote this. I have no idea when. I just found it. But I think it's really poignant because it's a poem about Tamaz and I, right? And so I'm writing it about our relationship to her, right? Okay, now when we do this, what we want to do is be in the right state to take it on, take it into our heart, right? And release energy. So take a deep breath. And let it out where? From your heart. From your heart, right? And you do that by just imagining it. So deep breath in. Out from your heart. Now remember to close your eyes, right? One more deep breath in. With your eyes closed. Let it out through your heart. Make sure your feet are on the ground. And I will share this poem with you. Oh yes, I know there is more pain to come. I will be a shambles by the time all this is done. I'm having a hard time. This has been absolutely no fun. In the remnants of the battle, we see that no one has won. There is only sorrow left in the hearts of the warriors who fought so hard. We are actors in a movie in which we both starred. The script was extremely complex, but we followed our lines. We were together almost every moment, and for a while, we shared the best of times. We let our fears get the best of us, and we both committed some terrible crimes. We sliced open each other's hearts with swords of words, and sometimes we just lost our minds. The cuts are so deep, we lost sight of the world we had created. We lost the love we had, the love that had seemed so fated. The crazy passion we felt in the beginning abated. So sad, and yet the clouds have a silver lining. The universe only knows perfect timing. I trust that everything done in darkness will eventually come to light, that the angels within us always shine so bright. We will be together again in a place we both know so well. We will laugh and cry, and boy, will we have a story to tell. Just breathe that in. Let it out through your heart. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So, I don't know about you guys, I enjoyed that. That was pretty interesting and a great way to remember who we really are. That you're now learning and remembering about a philosophy that is within you. You're just remembering it. It's called being a Heartist. And to become a Heartist, again, you just have to practice Heartism again. Now, in the meantime, remember that underneath here, there's the 3 chapters of the first book. The link is there. There's a link for you to be able to have a complimentary session, coaching session with me to see if there's some alignment in our energy that you feel connects with you in a way that I can help you become more of who you really are. Visit our website at vft23.com. Learn more about me, about the relationship, about the book, about life in general. There's a beautiful set of stories on there and blogs on there that I think you'll enjoy tremendously. In the meantime, make sure you, what do they say? Smash a like, right? Subscribe. It's free. I know, like everything I just shared with you, it's all free, right? So get involved with us. Start to communicate through the social media. We've got social media accounts on everything, right? So interact with that. Ask questions. Share your stories. Be a part of the community. And we've got some amazing podcasts coming up very soon. In the meantime, I want to share with you a new phrase. It's an old phrase for me. It's called saper ord. And it means, in Greek, dare to be wise. I hope you accept that dare. And that you will take that dare as an acronym. That you will do something every day that will help you on your journey to remembering who you are. And the word dare is broken into an acronym. Daily, active, remembering experience. You put those down, write them down, and live them every day. And you will very soon become who you really are. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Let's go. Spiritual sparkle in a world of gray, finding the truth in the disarray. It's a raw confession of a life lived fast, breaking the chains of a heavy past, from the erotic spirit to the soul's rebirth, finding what a human life is really worth. Sex, lies, and the repercussions stay as we dance the final act away. Just a true story of a love so deep, promises that we could never keep. In the garden of the trap we lay, waiting for the break of a breath.